Good evening and welcome live here to Fort Lee High School, Fort Lee, New Jersey on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. It's time for Fort Lee Bridgemen Wrestling as the Bridgemen take the floor, taking on the Maroon Raiders of Dwight Morrow High School. Ralph Bjorchik on hand, so happy to have you with me. Late start, we had JV exhibitions take place before this one, and our dual meet is going to begin with Fort Lee holding a 24-12 advantage. Dwight Morrow is going to forfeit 4 weight classes. And Fort Lee is going to forfeit 2 at 106 and at heavyweight. So 24-12 will be the score that we will start off. So we'll have 9 bouts that will determine this one. Fort Lee under third-year coach John Melendez, head coach Charles Taylor of Dwight Morrow. Dwight Morrow would be considered the older team in this when you look at some of their better seniors, including at heavyweight with Richard Duke, but Duke, a true 285, will not get to wrestle today. So I think we just announced the 106-pounders. Morrow does not have anybody at 113, while at 113, Magsman Medizade of Fort Lee. So we will start at 120. So Lucas Ruano, a true 113-pounder, he will go here for Fort Lee against Camilo San Pedro, a senior of Dwight Morrow. Dwight Morrow already with an initial takedown and already 10-1. Again, 3 points, second year with the new rules, that 3-point takedowns. And Lucas is a freshman. Lucas Ruano of Fort Lee in his first year wrestling. So he is learning trial by fire. For Coach John Melendez, he has hung in there and has not been afraid to lose, is probably the best attribute for Lucas Ruano at this stage in his career. And also he's a natural 113-pounder, so he is giving up weight here against a true 120 as the pin executed by Camilo San Pedro, senior with some experience for Dwight Morrow. So San Pedro picks up the 6. I'm not sure why they haven't counted the 6v6 up on the board. So right now the current score should be 12-12. They have it up as 6-6, not counting the double forfeit at 106. Now at 126 pounds, sophomore Kevin Bonilla of Dwight Morrow. And Michael Mediev, and now a pin for Fort Lee. Mediev is able to pin Kevin Bonilla to come up with 6. To increase the score to 18-12. So Mediev makes very quick work in the first period. So here at 132, here is where Dwight Morrow will forfeit. And at 132, Hovik Amirkayan will pick up the official points. And we'll move down to 138, where Narek Harutunian for Fort Lee versus Christopher Guzman, a sophomore for Dwight Morrow. So Narek, who has a lot of experience now in the program, it's a very young Fort Lee program, but he is in his 3rd year in the varsity, a captain that's very good on top. And he, like most of this Fort Lee roster, is finally kind of coming around after having a bout with the flu. 16 members of this Fort Lee team, virtually the entire roster, dealt with the flu a week before Christmas. Kind of that week of December 16th through the 20th. And right before everybody went, had Christmas week, Haratunian, he came back off the flu and took on losses at the tournament at Kearney High School. He is now on top of Christopher Guzman after the first takedown at 3-0 here in this first period. And they have the score officially right now at 18-6, so which is accurate. Remember, Fort Lee is going to be forfeiting at the very end at heavyweight. So we know it is truly 18-12 at the moment in the dual meet. Dwight Morrow 0-2 in duels, Fort Lee at 2-2. Haratunian starts on top. And Guzman still has 30 seconds, and it is a pin. Well, Guzman could not hold that position. Haratunian will come up with a pin to increase the scoring. So 138, Narek Haratunian for Fort Lee expands. And picking up the 6 to get to 24-6 officially for the moment. Unofficially 24-12. 144 is where Dwight Morrow is also going to forfeit. So at 144, the victory will go to Itornum Adasu of Fort Lee. So our next bout will occur at 150. Daniel Corey will wrestle for Fort Lee against sophomore Jose Hernandez of Dwight Morrow. And Corey, in his 3rd year on the varsity, he was hit hardest with the flu on the team. And he had to wait a while to catch up in weight. Pretty good hand fighter. And Corey on this young Fort Lee side that graduated basically 7 starting seniors, or almost full-time in the lineup seniors out of the class of 2025. Including one, Michael Gim, who's wrestling at Bergen County Community College. After the initial takedown, second takedown, and a chance here, minimum for a tech fall. 7-0, now a chance to pin for Daniel Corey, and he does pin. He pins at 150, Jose Hernandez, sophomore from Dwight Morrow. $36-6 on another pin. That's 4 pins that have occurred. So we have not yet gotten past the first period. Now at 157, it's Ethan Castellanos, sophomore and captain for Fort Lee, in the black singlet. And at 157, Steven Valencia, a junior for Dwight Morrow. Initial takedown by Castellanos. Castellanos is a great story for any young wrestler or just a young athlete. He spent the entirety of last year being on the JV, but came back a completely different wrestler to go from JV to sophomore varsity captain in 1 year due to his nonstop work in the offseason with mainly Club Edge Wrestling in Hoboken, and the summer program that Coach John Melendez runs with Fort Lee. He's on top and scored immediately on Steven Valencia of Dwight Morrow. So Valencia is yet to be able to get to his feet and come up with some sort of an aggressive mindset. And to try to score, Castellanos has not given that. Both of Ethan's older brothers wrestled for Fort Lee years ago. He only started wrestling last year. Chance for a pin, another pin, the fourth. Valencia escaped with, I think, his left shoulder. Now his right shoulder is compromised, and the fourth straight pin for Fort Lee. This time at 1:57, it is Castellanos to continue the scoring to make it 42-6. A pin again in the first period. Now at 1:65, we'll see for Fort Lee, Lev Koltsov against senior Kwesi Bonner of Dwight Morrow. Koltsov in his second year in the varsity, and he has taken a big jump. This is already his 13th match of the season. Only wrestled twice last year. So he has taken a meteoric jump. He's able to get on top and score with the initial takedown, and you can see the strength advantage now that Koltsov has on Bonner. Still 1:25 left in this opening period. But Koltsov brings a lot of aggression and good on his feet. Big jump. He's 7-5 so far in this first quarter of the season. Just ran and trained all offseason, wrestled with tons of different wrestling clubs. And Koltsov, someone that I think could be projected to take a substantial jump next year with another offseason like this. He's in position to perhaps pin Bonner. Bonner gets out of it, but that left shoulder is compromised. Koltsov has already scored, still 45 seconds, and now he will be credited with the 4 to score, and then the escape to get Bonner on the board. Now another takedown for 3. So Koltsov not waiting around for the second period. He expands to 10-1. And Kwesi Bonner will pick up another point for an escape, 10-2, and to try to figure out a way to get to the second period. So Kwesi Bonner of Dwight Morrow has figured out a way to get back on his feet, a pair of escapes to get at least to the second period. He's trailing 10-2. Can he avoid a pin? And perhaps at least help the team by getting down to a decision, but still remaining aggressive. Look at Bonner, and Bonner will now get on top. And Bonner is going to score, getting a 3-point takedown. So he has done that to get at least into a decision, but Kwesi Bonner is not settling. Koltsov will pick up the 1 for the escape, but now it's a brand new bout here, early second period, between Dwight Morrow's senior Kwesi Bonner and junior Lev Koltsov of Fort Lee. Now Koltsov almost had a single leg, but Bonner quick enough, and now Bonner is able to reverse it, and he's going to pick up the 3 for that. Great look at that here at Fort Lee Gymnasium. Bonner picking up the 3. Then a 2, and now Koltsov in position. He's got the left shoulder, and Koltsov using his strength. Bonner got out of this early in the first period. Koltsov will pick up another 4. And now Bonner in position of being perhaps tech-falled 17-8 with another 4. Koltsov to try to finish the job. And Bonner being communicated, he still has 20 seconds left to try to get to the third period. And Bonner impressively able to roll over, almost got to his feet but could not stand up. And an extra 3 is going to be given for the takedown for Lev Koltsov in an aggressive bout. Here at 165 pounds, it's 20-8 after 2 periods for Lev Koltsov of Fort Lee. And Koltsov will start in the down position. Koltsov has several inches on Fort Lee's Kwesi Bonner. Has yet to really look to try to stand up, though, and get out of it. And now he finally does. Bonner with the single leg. Not enough for a takedown, though. 20-8. Now the escape, 21-8. But Lev Koltsov showing that aggression. John Melendez talking about he brings a lot of aggression. He is not concerned about wrestling not to lose. A lot of wrestlers might have backed off, sitting on a big lead with a minute left. Koltsov picks up a 3, but he is in position, and he does get the pin. He wears down Kwesi Bonner early in the third. So in position for perhaps a tech fall, but he was not satisfied. He takes the 6 with another pin. It got up to 21-8 before the pin for Koltsov. Bonner had to be aggressive to make something of it. So 48-6. At 175 pounds, Ryan Kim, senior for Fort Lee, will wrestle against Andrew Bravo, sophomore of Dwight Morrow. Ryan Kim in his 3rd year in the varsity. The clock had not started yet. Here, as you see, 2 minutes in our lower right-hand portion. This is 175 pounds. We'll have a bout at 190 and 215. None at heavyweight. Fort Lee will forfeit there. And they have yet to update the score. It's 48-6, Fort Lee Bridgmen. Fort Lee already with 5 pins. 1 pin for Dwight Morrow. Ryan Kim also had a rough go. He probably had the worst of it, having the flu and missing about a week of practice, as unfortunately the scoreboard having to be reset. So I think they're having issues, but it's 48-6 Fort Lee. They're 2-2 in dual meets. Dwight Morrow Maroon Raiders are 0-2. On top is senior Ryan Kim. This is his 4th year wrestling for Ryan. 3 of them on the varsity. Kim will pick up a 3 for the takedown. Kim continues to work on top. And Andrew Bravo able to get out of it. I'm not certain if that was the end of the period, because our clock was malfunctioning. Now they're, I guess, adjusting to 41 seconds. So we'll see if Bravo can come up with a well-timed escape and to send this bout at 175 pounds into a second period where he can regroup. Kim had the right shoulder and then a pin. Another for Fort Lee. Ryan Kim at 175. 4 straight pins for Fort Lee. Six overall. Now at 190 pounds, it's Dylan Mara of Fort Lee. And he'll wrestle Tevin Lee at 190 for Dwight Morrow. Dylan Mara is a sophomore in his first year in the varsity. And in his first year also at Fort Lee, transferring back to his home school district of St. Mary's in Rutherford. But Tevin Lee does well to stay on his feet. However, the takedown is awarded to Dylan Mara. The escape. And to make it 3-1, here at 190 pounds for Tevin Lee. And fought off well by Tevin Lee of Dwight Morrow, who's in the maroon singlet. And the black on black right now on your left is Dylan Mara of Fort Lee. And now they have adjusted the score. 54-6 is accurate, and it's really 54-12 with the heavyweight forfeiture coming up at the end. For Dylan Mara, 2 major knee injuries while being basically in junior high. In 8th grade, and then the same thing last year as a freshman. So this is a substantial year for Dylan Mara of development. To first get the confidence back in the knee after all that rehab time that is still ongoing. And he does pick up the 3-point takedown. Just inside the mat to take the lead at 3-1. Second period, make it 6-1. He had the early takedown. So work to do for Tevin Lee of Dwight Morrow. Oh, in position for pin, Dylan Mara. Well, he's going to pick up more scoring. He picked up an initial 2, then a 3-point takedown, and now the 1-point escape for Tevin Lee to make it 11-2. But Fort Lee has come out against a more inexperienced Dwight Morrow team who does have some older kids. But they have all had the mentality of going out to pin tonight. There hasn't been any real easing in. Another 3-point takedown. Again, here at 190 for Dylan Mara. And the late escape awarded to Tevin Lee, 14-3. Mara will get him down for another 3, 17-3. So he's now in tech fall territory. Escape again for Lee to try to just live for the third period. Another three, 20-4, it's over. Another Fort Lee wrestler that was relentless and was not going to settle for just trying to get to the next period. So 20-4 there. And the decision and the tech fall to pick up the 5 points. 59-6 here at 2:15. Looking forward to watching Aaron Pena, sophomore at 215 pounds, who did not wrestle at all last year for Fort Lee, against sophomore Miguel Garcia of Dwight Morrow. And this will be our final bout of the night. Pena did start wrestling for John Melendez 3 years ago in his rec program locally. And right around 215 pounds, appears like it's going to be his potential. There's also a freshman, Tej Kim, in his first year wrestling that will spar and work every day with Aaron Pena. So he has someone for the next 3 years. A great advantage for Aaron Pena to work and be basically at the same level of development, and they can both push each other. That's difficult when you're an upper weight. You have no one to really go up against, but Pena and Tej Kim could become best friends the next 3 years. And to have someone that you can go up against basically the same weight on a daily basis will greatly enhance their growth. Aaron's a true 215er. Tej Kim is only about 205 pounds, so there's a difference, Pena being 1 year younger, but eventually they will catch up. Eventually Kim and Aaron will probably catch up and be right around the same weight. Chance for the takedown for Miguel Garcia. However, then it's reversed, and then a pin for Aaron Pena. Pena with the 7th pin of the night for Fort Lee. Another first period pin to make it 65-6. And the final score will end up being 65-12, Fort Lee. And the most points that they have scored so far. They put up 54 points in wins over Patterson Kennedy and Bergen Charter in a tri-match on December 15th. There is no representative for Fort Lee at heavyweight, as Richard Duke will pick up the victory. Each program also has at least one girl. So this is an exhibition match, just to conclude things. Girls wrestling, of course, has exploded nationwide. There are now NCAA teams being formed. Unfortunately, I don't have the name of each team's girl here for the exhibition match. But there's even a female assistant coach on Charles Taylor's staff of Dwight Morrow. New Jersey City University, NJCU, has had a women's program now for 3 years. It's among the first. Of course, in Pennsylvania, it is popping up, and other colleges are going to have it in the near future. I think even Division III programs like at Pratt in New York City, where you're starting to see it being sanctioned, like in New York State, it's now sanctioned for the first time. As after the Dwight Morrow girl came up with the initial takedown, 1 point escape for the Fort Lee wrestler. Fort Lee has just one girl on the team. And I see that Dwight Morrow has, looks like 4 as a part of the program. And the takedown for the Fort Lee girl. So she leads 4-3 in what is shaping up to be the most competitive bout that we'll have. Final score 65-12 Fort Lee, as they just posted it up. The heavyweight forfeit. Fort Lee improves to 3-2. Dwight Morrow 0-3 in duels. And this will be our lone exhibition to conclude things tonight at Fort Lee High School. At end of one period, the Fort Lee lady has the advantage. Now the Fort Lee girl in trouble, and it is a pin for Dwight Morrow and the exhibition match. Girls wrestling in New Jersey experiencing explosive growth, exhibitions virtually all the time, and just in the last now, since 2021-22, the numbers have jumped substantially. There's estimated to be about 1,500 girls wrestlers for this season. There's now a state. Women's wrestling was just approved by the NCAA as a Division I championship, as there are different weight classes now. And Bloomfield, just nearby, has become one of the first powers. Congratulations to Fort Lee. 65-12 is the final score over Dwight Morrow. 7 pins for Fort Lee carry them to the victory tonight. My name is Ralph Benorchik, saying so long, good night, and goodbye. And until next time, thank you for watching Fort Lee Athletics on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel.